inkproducts.com has now released the new Canon 250 and 251 refillable cartridges. In this video, I'm going to show you how easy it is to fill them. There's the one-time chip. It's a lot like Canon, but these are a lot easier to fill, and they hold a lot more ink. Now, this chip is going to go down just like the Canon chip. You're going to have to shut off the ink monitor to keep using the cartridges. That's the only thing that's available right now. We're working on a chip resetter, but we don't know how long that's going to take. So let me show you how this works, show you how to fill them, and we'll put them in an MG6320 so you can see how they operate. Okay, when you first get the cartridge, the very first time they're empty, you're going to vacuum fill them. Then after that, all you're going to have to do is take the plug out, just put some ink in the supply chamber, that's it. Only the first time do we want to vacuum fill it. We want to remove as much air as we can. So in the video, I'm going to show you how to do it. You're going to get a syringe, 12 milliliter syringe. You're going to fill it up to 10, and then you'll be able to vacuum fill it. Now on the syringe, it says discard after use. Don't do that. These are veterinarian syringes. You're not dealing with blood, so you don't have to discard them. Don't wash them out. If you wash them out, you'll damage the plunger. So after you're done using it, mark magenta or whatever color, and just put it in a plastic bag. In a kit, you're going to get a steel needle, a blunt steel needle. That's what you're going to use later on to just fill through the fill hole of the cartridge. But for now, we're going to vacuum fill. So all we need is the cartridge. Now, in a lot of my videos, I show you cutting an old box so you can put your bottle of ink in there. This way, you don't have to worry about knocking the bottle over. And I always tell you to have some paper napkins handy. Wear rubber gloves. You don't want to get ink on your fingers. Work in a safe area. Don't work over your white rug, obviously. Use common sense. So now I'm going to prepare the syringe with the 10 milliliters of ink. And I'm going to show you how to fill the cartridge. Now I'm going to fill a cyan, so I'm going to change out the bottle. Put cyan ink in there. And then we'll show you how to fill. Okay, now I've got the cyan ink. This is our Canon Ultra True Color dye base ink. In the Canon, they use dye base in all the cartridge except the big black one. That's using a pigmented black ink, a waterproof ink. So when we supply the kit, you're going to get the correct ink. Now I'm going to put the little tip on, the little steel tip on, the needle tip, and I'm going to go into the bottle and draw up 10 milliliters of ink. Take it out. Now that's why you want to have some paper towel handy so you wipe it off. Now I'm going to take the tip off. This is called a Laura slip syringe. That's going to go right in the fill hole. And take out the plug. I'm going to push it right down into the fill hole right there. Now it takes a little bit the first time to do it. Push it in. Make sure it's snug. If it's not snug, you have ink all over you. Make sure the orange refill clip is on. It's a good idea to mark it cyan, magenta, black, so you know you're going to put the correct orange clip back on so you don't get cross-contamination on the bottom. Now, in the very front, there's a little vent hole, little air hole, that must remain open. Because as I'm pushing down, adding ink, I'm letting it seep into the fiber chamber, and it's going to push out all the air. So you only have to do this once when you first get them. Right now we're vacuum filling them. Take your time, go slow. Don't rush it. If this would have fallen off, you'd have a mess all over. I just go down slow. Now I only put 10 in there. I can always top it off with more if I need to. You can see it's saturating. Now when you see some ink, come out the vent hole, then you stop. Now that's 10 milliliters. I probably could have put 12 in there. I'm going a little bit faster because we're on camera here doing this. Normally I wouldn't go as fast as I'm doing now. And of course, you don't want to hang it in the air like I'm doing it. You want to put it down. This gives you a little bit of support, and then you can slowly add it. Now, see, went too fast, the ink came right out the vent. No problem. You don't have to fill that all with ink. You just don't have to. So you want to wipe that off. The only reason why that happened is because I started to go too fast. Take your time. Might even want to turn the cartridge a little bit. Whoops, a little bit too much again. Again, just wipe it off. Now, when you take off the orange clip, when you have the plug in, sometimes you get a little ink to drip. That's very good. Okay, it's got enough ink in it now. I'm going to remove the syringe. Take your time and remove it. Pretty tight, so just take your time. There you go. Now, what I'm going to do now, before I put the plug back in, I'm going to just top this back chamber off the supply chamber. Just going to add a little bit more ink to it, and then we're going to put the plug back in the fill hole. Okay, now I'm going to take the orange clip off. A little ink will probably drip, so I'm going to have a paper towel here. There you go. Take it off. And this would be normal for a little ink to come out. Actually, I want some ink to come out. There you go. Now, I'm going to go over putting the orange clip on so you understand how it works. You can rinse them out, wash them out later on if you wanted to. On each side, there's two little catches. Once you get it in there, and you squeeze it, it locks in on the front, right up here. It's going to lock right in up front here. So you can store it just like that. That's it. That's how you store it. That's how simple it was to fill these cartridges. Okay, now I marked cyan, or I put a C there, so now I know that's going to go on the cyan. Now, if you get the Ultimate kit, it has two sets, so you want to make sure you mark them. So now I'm going to go in and just add a little bit more. I'm not going to go right to the top. I want to leave a little room, so when I go put the plug in, it makes it easier. If it's too full, it's hard to get the plug in. There's a chip. There's also a little window here. Canon shoots a beam of light up through the bottom here, and if this has no ink in that chamber, it'll burn out the chip and shut the printer down. So you don't ever want to let these run empty. The other problem it might cause if you let it run empty, you'll starve the printhead. On the new Canons, you cannot replace the printhead. You have to throw the printer away. Makes no sense. The old Canons, you could go get another printhead, or you could take the printhead out, you could wash it out. These new Canons, you can't do that. So that's how easy it was to fill our refillable cartridges with our COC chips. Now, after you refilled the cartridge, you're going to take the orange clip off. You want to have some paper towels handy, and maybe even a pair of rubber gloves on, because sometimes when you go to take it off, ink may leak out the bottom of the cartridge a little bit. So bear that in mind when you're going to remove that orange clip. Now I'm going to take the orange clip off. I unclipped it, like I said, you got to be careful that some ink don't leak all over you or where you're working on it, because you're going to get some ink all over. So you might want to wear a pair of rubber gloves. Put a pair of gloves on, and till you get used to what you're doing. I just took this off, and now I'm going to go put it back in the printer. Just wanted to show you that. I get an orange light comes on, or red light. Now when you print along and it goes empty, eventually you're going to shut off the ink monitor. So you want to look at the cartridges, make sure they have ink in them. Remember, Canon's got a little sensor in here with a little beam of light that's going to shoot up through the bottom of the cartridge. And if it sees no ink in it, it's going to shut that chip down. And you're going to have to wind up buying some new cartridges to replace it, because that damages the chip. Same thing happens on a Canon. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to set it for high, plain paper. That's the way I always run the Canon. I never run it under high. I don't run it under normal or never under draft. You'll do more cleanings and actually waste more ink. That's the way I set it all the time. Now this will be the first error code that comes up with the exclamation. Okay, we finally got the error code that shows that the ink may have run out. Replace the ink tank. If you notice, this is the 6320. I'm sure you how to do them for all of them, but you're going to see this little amber light is on. That is the only time you can shut off the ink monitor. So you get that light. Now sometimes you're going to have to do it twice. I'm going to show that, but you got to make sure that you have ink in those cartridges. Okay? So I'm not going to press the OK. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to hold down that stop button. Then, by doing that, I'm going to let go. Okay, they pop back up again. So, it shows that the amber light's still on. Stop button went out. Now, press the OK. Give it a second. Okay, now the final code came up. It said it cannot detect the ink level. Now I pulled the cartridge out and I made sure there's plenty of magenta ink in it. Now we're going to shut it off completely. Again, the stoplight's on. Got the little triangle. Remember I said you had to do this twice? Well, this is the code you're waiting for. Because the other one will just let you keep going. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the stop button. Just keep holding it down. Now, the orange triangle light went out. Now, it says processing. Now when it comes up this time, the magenta is going to be grayed out. So you have to do that for all the rest of the colors. But once that's accomplished, then if you have extra cartridges, you can just take one out, put it in, take one out, put it in, and never run out of ink. Okay, now I've shut off the magenta. Now I'm going to do the cyan, the yellow. I'm going to do them all exactly the same way. Then you won't get the error codes, but you just got to make sure you keep ink in the cartridge.